we were talking about like doing a decade recap, and there was really the Nuggets seemed like the team to really talk about here because they end the decade in basically the same place they started the decade, which if we take you back to 2010, right at January 2010, the Nuggets had the like a couple inbound passes away from the NBA championship Western Conference Finals team.
Mm-hmm.
Carmelo Anthony at the best he played. Like that was his peak. Chauncey was still seemed to be in his prime. Kenyon Martin was playing well. That was the most controlled J.R. Smith was. Like they had all the pieces still. Nene was a contributor. This was when George Karl got his cancer diagnosis, went out, didn't coach for the rest of the year. Adrian Dantley coached the team. Things really went off the rails as soon as they made the playoffs. And by the end of that, it was clear that Melo wanted to leave. Like, by the end of that series, Melo was basically saying, I'm gone.
Yeah, and it was, I think, the first times even diehards were realizing that there may never be a better time to trade Melo.
And so Melo wants to be traded. The next season is basically held hostage by Melo being traded. He gets traded. They get they get more than anyone would have ever thought, and it looked like the new team is set up. They just really need a star.
Yeah.
At times, Ty Lawson was sort of that star. At times, Kenneth Faried, at least with the contract, was that star.
At times, Danilo Gallinari.
Yeah, which really set up the next big chance was the Danilo Gallinari year, and then he went down against Dallas 2013?
2012, 2013, yeah.
Which was devastating. Nuggets lose to the Golden State Warriors in the first round of the playoffs. Golden State, it's 2 years away from their championship, but it's their first series win, and they credit that win as them realizing that they could be great.
I mean, I think, one Andre Iguodala saw it firsthand. It was like, there was an unearthly power that came out of that series for Steph and Clay, especially with just like knockdown three shooting. And yeah, so the Nuggets, what was supposed to be such a bright future, ended up being a footnote in the story of another dynasty's rise.
And, I mean, too, really, because Masai Ujiri then leaves for Toronto where he'll win an NBA championship.
Yeah, true.
And Josh Kroenke thinks he's the smartest man in the building. Part of the smartest man in the building was that JaVale McGee needed to play a lot more. He was really a star in the making. And the guy to bring in to do that was Brian Shaw to coach, which ended in disaster.
Which, I mean, I remember the excitement of that. He was like a Lakers guy, then was assistant coach for the Pacers that would always give LeBron and the Heat fits. He made Roy Hibbert look like a defensive player of the year. So there was a lot of hope that, okay, the Nuggets have this amazing offense. If we can just make their defense potent, then there's no way we don't succeed incredibly. And I remember the turning point was the Nuggets won 10 games in a row.
Early.
And then immediately lost 10 games right after that. And that was a moment it's like, maybe we should tamper our expectations. And then a roster that was talented but greatly overachieved started to become exactly what they were, which was a bunch of middle-of-the-road dudes trying to be superstar by committee.
And Ty Lawson completely fell off the map. It was in that first offseason where he was smoking, talking about leaving the Nuggets, and did leave the Nuggets.
And racking up a handful of DUIs in the process.
Really, his career, at the time, because that's when I was really in the locker room. I can't remember which coach it was, but they said that Ty Lawson was the best point guard in the league. Like, that was the season before that. And it turned into nothing.
Nothing at all.
And, I mean, there was a lot. I think it was a good, growing up moment for the Nuggets because I think Tim Connolly really, got the time to figure out what he was doing, but, definitely had a lot of misses.
Mm-hmm.
Darrell Arthur being among the biggest, where he was just giving him a bunch of money for no reason. I think Josh Kroenke, realized that he wanted to step aside a little more again. He really, made a splash. He did all the media tours. He was like, I'm as smart. I don't think he thought he was as smart as Ujiri and Karl, but that was sort of the air he was giving off.
Yeah, you just really thought that kind of a trust the process situation. It's it's not any one individual. It's the organization as a whole. But then you look at it and realize, you don't have all the answers within the organization, and you need those people to.
Yeah. And so that happens. Jokic is drafted as an afterthought. We have the Emmanuel Mudiay hope and then falling off. Get Jamal Murray and Gary Harris. And they sort of build up.
Yusuf Nurkic as well.
Yes, we have the Nurkic drama.
Yeah.
Who I loved his first year. He was just like the bully on the court.
Oh, he was so great. I remember he blocked DeMarcus Cousins when DeMarcus Cousins was like one of the scariest players in the world.
Yeah.
And he looked right in the eye and he like shit talked him right back. It's like, okay, so the Nuggets don't have the offense that they used to. The Shaw defense didn't work, but if we could just be like jerks, that would be cool. Like just having that edge.
Yeah.
That was really fun for the moment, but unfortunately Balkan Ball did not work out, and the Nuggets had to make a choice between Nurkic and Jokic.
Yeah, and so Jokic had a great, was it Olympics or Worlds?
That was Olympics.
Yeah, so Olympics 2016. Summer Olympics are coming up, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of our things to look forward to in 2020. And then we were like, maybe this Jokic guy could be pretty good because we weren't really sure. He'd been like, okay. Then Michael Malone was now the coach and just refused to start him forever, which is always my problem with Nuggets fans being like, that was the day, December 15th. The day should have been at least a month earlier because he was playing well that whole time.
Yeah.
Everyone except for Malone seemed to know that he should be the starter.
Yeah, but to Malone's defense, he's done that with everyone so far. Whether Murray or now Porter Jr., like, it's not just show that you can start, it's show that you're okay with not starting.
Yeah.
Like, really, like, forcing a team attitude out of people. But, yeah, the December 15th joke-miss is now a running joke, not just because it was the day everything changed, but it now seems that, like, Jokic will not turn it on until after December 15th.
Yeah, he's been great.
Yeah.
They should just plan for that in the future. They're going to be terrible in that tournament if they make that tournament work, the Thanksgiving tournament.
Yeah.
They will not be a competitor. So then they try to get it together. They lose that game to Minnesota. Don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, game 82.
But then they, were the number 2 seed.
Quickly, last season, in the early days of the podcast, they went out on that original tear, 9-1, and then immediately crashed back down to earth. But that whole season, it was really winning the games you're supposed to, which I think for all fan bases feel like our team just can't win those games. But I think the Nuggets have a stronger track record of data saying that they play to their competition and just do not show up for those 3:00 in the afternoon Sunday games against the Kings.
Yes, or Christmas games against the Pelicans, whatever you want to take.
Yeah, but that season, they just won so many of the games they were supposed to and surprised us several times with great wins against better competition.
Yeah, and so, made the playoffs, made it to Game 7 in the second round, and we're still feeling good about it. And at the end of the decade, they're one of the best teams in the West, which is exactly where they started.
Yeah. Completely different makeup and reasons why, and I think more long-term prospects.
But I think we thought that at the time.
True.
We kind of left out the whole, there was the lockout, and then there was JR and Kenyon going to China, and then, there was a lot. That team just fell apart so spectacularly.
Yeah. Well, it was like from last decade, it was the Thuggets growing up and maturing.
Yeah.
And then immediately falling apart. Which, really, when we did our what-ifs several episodes previous, and Carl getting cancer, again, was just... there's so few teams, that could weather that emotional storm.
Yeah.
But, this Nuggets team now, everyone is younger. There's still so much growing to be done, whereas we had a mature in his prime Melo, but with an older Chauncey, and certainly not as deep a bench as we have now. So I think one great thing that we have to look forward is the Nuggets having that personality. Like they still don't have a Thuggets persona, and they don't need that one, but they need something.
Yeah. Well, I'm really hoping in 10 years we're not sitting here talking about how they're in the exact same place they were last time with just a complete dive for the whole decade.
Yeah, I know.